Hello.
Hi.
We have not done this in a while.
We haven't.
In May, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni signed a truce, both names on it. They said they hoped it would bring closure and a respectful environment online. 2 months later, he posted a video that blew the whole thing apart. August 2024. It ends with us hits theaters. It's based on a Colleen Hoover novel about a woman escaping a man who hurts her. Justin Baldoni directed it. He also produced it, and he played the husband. Blake Lively played the woman getting away from him. The film made over $350 million. It should have been the win of both their careers, but something was wrong on the press tour. Baldoni promoted the movie separately. He wasn't in the group photos. He wasn't at the cast events. And here's the detail I love. Nobody in Hollywood said a word about it. But TikTok figured it out in about a week. Fans watched the interviews, counted the missing photos, and worked out that the two leads weren't speaking. They were right. Months before a single lawyer got involved, then December 2024 arrives. Blake Lively files a complaint with California's Civil Rights Department. She accuses Baldoni of sexual harassment.
What it's like to maybe work in the adult film industry. You're just sort of like, by lunchtime, you're just...
That's real, Jim.
Harassment on set. And she says his team ran a coordinated campaign to destroy her reputation. The New York Times publishes it. The industry stops breathing. Baldoni denies every word of it, but by the time that story ran, Lively's team had already been sitting on his private messages for weeks. And how they got them is the strangest thing in this entire case. The lawsuit nobody was supposed to see before any of this went public. Lively's side filed a lawsuit that was kept out of view. They used it to send a subpoena to Stephanie Jones, Baldoni's former publicist. It demanded every message she had about Baldoni, about Lively, about Ryan Reynolds. That subpoena pulled loose a set of private texts between a crisis PR manager named Melissa Nathan and a former employee of Jones's firm. Those messages became the entire foundation of Lively's case. And then, on December 19th, the hidden lawsuit was quietly withdrawn. 2 days later, the Times story ran. Baldoni's lawyer said the only reason that lawsuit ever existed was to grab documents without warning anybody. She didn't stumble across the receipts. She went and got them. He goes, nuclear. Baldoni's response was not a statement. It was a war. On December 31st, he sued the New York Times. In January, he sued Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and her publicist $400 million. Extortion and defamation. He said they'd invented the harassment story to take his movie away from him. Then he did something almost nobody in this business does. He built a website. He published his own complaint on it, a timeline, screenshots of private texts, all of it free for anyone to read. He turned his own lawsuit into content. And in her filings, Lively's lawyers said there was something much bigger sitting behind him. They claimed the billionaire who funds Baldoni's studio had threatened, before any of this started, to spend his personal fortune destroying Lively and her husband. They wrote that he compared the plan to a holy war. That is her allegation. It's not a court finding, but it's in a federal filing. Everything leaks June 2025. The judge throws Baldoni's $400 million case out. And the New York Times case with it. Then January of this year, the seal comes off. Hundreds of exhibits hit the public record. Ryan Reynolds' private texts calling Baldoni a predatory fraudster. Lively's messages calling him a rabid pig. Texts with Taylor Swift. Emails to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. 2 years of people's private lives, printed and posted. Nobody comes out of it clean. Not one person in this story, but none of it decided the case. Not the texts. Not the money. Not the movie stars. The ruling that ended this had nothing to do with any of it. And when it landed, it took the whole thing apart in an afternoon, April 2nd, 2026. Judge Louis Lyman rules. He throws out 10 of Blake Lively's 13 claims, including the sexual harassment claims. Now, this is where almost everybody gets it wrong. The judge did not rule that the harassment didn't happen. He never decided that. He never even got to the question. He threw the claims out because of where the movie was filmed. Here's the plain version. Lively was leaning on California law to protect her. But It Ends With Us wasn't shot in California. And she doesn't live in California. So the law she was standing on didn't reach her. Sit with that for a second. 2 years. Nearly 1,500 filings in the court record. Tens of thousands of documents. Taylor Swift dragged into it. Careers on fire on both sides. And it came down to a question about where the cameras were pointed. She didn't lose on the facts. She lost on the map. 6 weeks from trial, her case was gutted. And then Baldoni's lawyer says his phone rang on a Friday night, out of the blue. Lively's lawyer, calling to talk settlement. May. Both sides sign off. No money changes hands. No apology. No verdict. Nothing. And together through their lawyers they release a joint statement. In it, they acknowledge her concerns deserve to be heard. They say they're committed to workplaces free of misconduct. And they say they hope this brings closure and lets everyone move on in peace. Including, in their words, a respectful environment online. Both names. One statement. Peace. That peace lasted 2 months. July 8th. Last week, Justin Baldoni posts a 5-minute video. He's sitting beside his wife, Emily. He never says Blake Lively's name. He never names the film. He never mentions the lawsuit directly. He says gratitude has saved them. Then Emily speaks. She says gratitude doesn't erase the injustice or the pain. She asks how something like this could even happen. And then she says the line that lit the internet on fire. She says it was disguised as a fight for women. 2 months after signing a statement asking for a respectful environment online. Blake Lively said nothing. The next day, photographers found her and Ryan Reynolds in Canada. Rooftop lunch, then shopping. Not one word. And here's why the timing matters. 5 days after that video, Justin Baldoni has a deadline in federal court. That deadline is today. Because at the end of June, Lively's lawyers filed a bill. $8,035,040. Plus 88 cents, they billed him down to the penny. They even billed for the hours they spent writing the bill. And that $8 million only covers about 6 months of work, the stretch where they killed his lawsuit. Nothing else. Today is his last day to fight the number. So was that video about healing? Or was it about the $8 million due this week? Maybe those are unrelated. Maybe it's exactly what it looks like. He's the only one who knows. But look at where everybody landed. Baldoni hasn't announced a single project since this began. His lawyer says flatly that there was no harassment, no retaliation, no smear campaign, and points out that a judge threw out most of her case. Lively got no money, no apology, no ruling saying she was telling the truth. A film about escaping an abusive man made $350 million. Both of its stars walked away, burned. Nobody won this. The lawyers did. And it still isn't finished. Baldoni's studio is now suing its own insurance companies, fighting over who's supposed to pay for any of this. If you want the part I couldn't fit here, watch my breakdown of the unsealed Blake Lively and Taylor Swift messages. That's the one that explains why the friendship didn't survive. And if you want stories where the receipts land before the rumors do, subscribe. I read the filings so you don't have to. See you in the next one.